I got some filthy mushroom experiments going on in my basement right now, so I wanted to make a video about it. So just like last year, I did the straw bale method outdoors of growing mushrooms, and this year, instead of the blue oysters, we are doing Italian oysters. So I had a little bit of spawn left, so I took the little bit of spawn, put it inside this clear plastic jug. We filled it up with some straw, no sterilization, filthy dirty, used a dirty pipe to jam it in here. Could not get it tight inside here either. There was a lot of air gaps in here, so I was unsure if anything would happen. Well, about a month later, here we are. I drilled some 1/4-inch holes around here. We have our first mushroom coming out. We have no mold contamination. Perhaps not the most efficient method of growing mushrooms, but mushrooms nonetheless with extra spawn. Moving on to shiitake. So I did a bunch of shiitake logs. I did not make a video on the shiitake logs, but I had some spawn left over because I had way too much for the logs and I was kind of lazy and didn't want to inoculate too many logs. And it was kind of late in the season, and usually you want to chop your trees before the sap comes back in. Well, the sap was back in, so you'd figure it'd have antifungal properties and nothing would work in it. So I took some of those branches and I chipped them up with my cheap chipper, mixed with a little bit of rows of Sharon chippings and some crabapple chippings. I stuffed them in here, put some shiitake spawn inside here. I put a napkin on the top of here for a little bit of airflow. Besides that, there's no holes. If you see here, I am almost completely colonized inside here. Now, I've been putting a lot of thoughts into what my next steps are with these shiitakes inside here. So I'm thinking I'm going to take these, I'm going to put them in the fridge for 24 hours because that seems pretty popular to do. And then I'll probably cut this open and we're going to dunk this in cold water and let it flush, hopefully. If anybody has any better ideas what to do with this clear jug full of completely inoculated shiitake spawn, let me know. Moving on to the lion's mane grain spawn. I'm not really a fan of grain spawn. I like the sawdust spawn better for everything, but this is what I got. I'm trying the straw bale method outdoors with the lion's mane. I don't expect it to work, but we'll see what happens with that. So I took some of that, put it in the same straw, and you can see here we are getting a little bit of colonization inside here. I did not do the napkin on top like I did with the shiitakes, and I actually had this cap tight so there was no air, and this thing was about to explode. So at this point, I did loosen this up a little bit, trying to make sure contaminants can't get in here, but same thing, we did not sterilize or pasteurize any of the substrate. We're going to see if any full colonization happens in here and go from there. This one is my favorite here. We have the indoor wine cap monotub. I scoured the internet and I could not find too much information when it comes to wine caps indoors. I think that's because we get hung up on the sterilization aspect of mushroom growing, and wine caps do not need sterilization. It's actually quite the opposite. Wine caps need to form a relationship with microorganisms and arguably the roots of plants. What I did here, I have about 2 inches of just dirt I dug up from the woods. We have some filthy, dirty alfalfa hay, straw, mixed with some unfinished chicken compost, a little bit more of the dirt I dug up from the woods, mixed with a little finished compost on top, and I topped it off with some leaves to hold the moisture in. You can see here, we have a lot of colonization going on in here. The mycelium has made its way to the top here, and over in this section, we do have a little bit of pinning action going on. So it seems like these wine caps want to flush. One of the things I read is cold water would help them flush. Now I tried the cold water, did not do much, and the mushrooms liked it, but we did not get any mushrooms out of it. I think my basement temperatures are just too constant. It's about 65 degrees down here, so there's no major weather change to make these flush. So what I'm thinking of is taking this whole tub, putting it inside a bigger tub with a bunch of ice cubes, see if that does it. If that doesn't do it, I might put this out in the hot sun to simulate a weather change. In worst case scenario, I will put plants inside here to see if that helps out and to see if it's absolutely necessary. I'm trying to find a way to grow these things without too much complication. If this is a complete failure, at least I have a whole entire tub here of wine cap mycelium from a very small amount of spawn. So if you didn't want to spend money on a bunch of spawn to inoculate areas, you could take a tub like this and just throw a little bit in there and multiply your spawn and get more out of it. Now keep in mind here, these are just my mushroom experiments. I probably wouldn't even know there was a mushroom growing on this unless I looked. I got these sitting under my bar. I have zero maintenance for these things. I did start spraying this with a little bit of water when I noticed mushrooms were forming out of it. I think if I compacted this more, maybe put a little bit more spawn in it, and actually kept it moist, we could probably get a decent haul of mushrooms out of this. If you guys got any ideas to help my mushrooms grow, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm open to suggestions. This is all experimentation. I was hoping to show you some outdoor wine caps by this time, but we've been experiencing 6 weeks of no rain now, so no wine caps, but we got some rain in the forecast, so maybe we'll get lucky and get some wine caps out there. I do have more bales out in the woodland mushroom garden. I think we're going to have pretty good success with those. Be on the lookout for the pink oysters in the straw bale. That's coming. As always, thanks for watching.